Hello and welcome to the Uncovering Opportunities with CMBS Data webinar. I'm Omar Al-Tarai, a market analyst here at Reonomy, and I'm accompanied by my colleague and data extraordinaire, David Vigilante, who is a senior product manager here at Reonomy. We're excited for today's session and hope you are too. So without further ado, let's get into it. And I wanted to put one announcement out there is if you have any questions that come up during the presentation, please feel free to put them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we'll come back to that during the Q&A portion. So looking at the agenda and the call today, we're going to cover the recent data enhancement that we've made here at Reonomy, and more specifically, we'll be discussing the CMBS data. We'll kick things off first by discussing the data set briefly and providing a quick overview of what's in it. And then I'll pass the mic off to David, who will guide you through an in-app demonstration of how the data can be used. He'll show you how you can utilize the CMBS data in some ways that we've seen clients incorporate it into their workflows. And finally, after the demo, we'll open it up to hear from you, ending the call with a Q&A session. So first off, what is CMBS? Commercial mortgage-backed securities, or CMBS, are asset-backed securities collateralized by commercial real estate mortgage loans. The CMBS market really got its start in the early 90s following the savings and loans crisis. But since then, CMBS has really served a crucial role in financing commercial real estate. And it's allowed public market capital to flow into and finance transactions and properties. So if you think about the structure, and some of this might be a reminder for many on the call, but we're just going to go through it quickly so that everybody's up to speed. But if you look at the graphic on the left, this is really kind of a simplified structure here. So mortgage loans backed by commercial real estate properties are pooled together and then sold as bonds to the market. Properties back the mortgages and mortgages back the bonds. It's really as simple as that. And while CMBS and other asset-backed securities, including CDOs and CLOs, have played a larger role leading up to the global financial crisis, they currently represent around 1 out of 7 mortgages on commercial real estate properties now. So that's about 14%. So while it is a smaller slice of the overall CRE debt pie, and it's well behind bank and agency portions, it's not an insignificant amount by any means. Hopping over to the next slide, we'll look at what's in CMBS data. Looking at the types of properties in the CMBS universe, you can see that the major food groups really are represented here. So you see office, retail, multifamily, hospitality, industrial. There are also niche property types that back these loans, including self-storage, mixed use, etc. But for the sake of this slide, we're just going to look at the 5 major property types. And what you can see here is that office and retail and multifamily are represented and take up the majority, as one might expect. But you see an outsized portion of hotel and lodging, which may be a larger portion than you would expect to see given the number of properties across the US. So there are some nuances with the CMBS data, but that being said, the CMBS universe is diverse and the major property types are well represented. For each CMBS loan, the servicers of the loan will provide regular reporting on the loan's performance and the underlying property condition through remittance reports. And when incorporated into Reonomy's existing data, this regular reporting is really a major improvement in terms of timeliness of information. Hopping over to the next slide, we can see that in addition to improving the timeliness of Reonomy's data set, the CMBS data also enhances the coverage across Reonomy's data. And that's what you see here on this slide. So while Reonomy's data set is already quite extensive, particularly in terms of property, transaction, and ownership data. The CMBS addition really deepens the entire Reonomy data set. For example, by providing commentary on tenants, and it also really fills out whole new areas of coverage, such as loan performance and loan metrics in the debt area, as well as property financials and individual commentary on property and loans. So what you see on this slide, the check marks are really where the data is more complete, and asterisks are where the data is less complete. But kind of the key takeaway from this slide is that the addition of the CMBS data not only adds to Reonomy's existing strengths, so that's what you see with the property data set, but then also it provides a new level of depth in other areas, particularly in the debt and the financial space. So as David will show you in a moment, the CMBS data provides really a big opportunity to see key property operating line items, including revenue, expense, NOI, NCF, across many property types and individual properties. And in addition to these metrics, the loan status and the servicer commentary can be incredibly valuable when somebody is looking to better understand what's happening both at the loan and the property level. And with that, I will hand it off to David to go through the in-app demo.
Awesome, thanks Omar, appreciate that background. Yeah, so kind of before we get into the demo here, which I know everyone is eagerly awaiting, we'll go over a little bit of the ways that you can utilize CMBS data in our platform to take advantage of the new data, as well as everything that we currently offer in there, how it might work into your workflow a bit, and then we'll get into the demo. So really, the CMBS data and the data we're offering can be used in a multitude of ways. We're just going to cover kind of 3 of the larger use cases that we've seen based on the discussions that we've had with users like yourself. The first one here is kind of around refinance opportunities. So as Omar was kind of covering, we get a lot of additional information on these mortgages for these properties. So while you may be accustomed to searching for and finding those balance sheet loans that have the maturity dates available, now you'll be able to expand that and be including all of these CMBS loans and properties as well, which have the maturity dates on them. Additionally, they have things such as who is the lender, what's the prepayment penalties, and what's the interest rates. So maybe you can see there's a pending maturity, or even hey, this person's paying away outsized rate currently compared to what you could get somewhere else in the market. On the income and expense side, while we cover about 150,000 properties have this CMBS information, so compared to the approximate 52 million properties we cover in the US, it is a very small portion. That said, typically it's your larger, more key type assets and trophy assets within a given market. With that, we have the income and high level revenue and operating expenses for those properties. Using that, you can kind of figure out like, all right, in this certain demographic or geographic region, perhaps office buildings or multifamily buildings are operating at this percentage or at these sort of efficiencies. And with that, you can kind of figure out like, all right, maybe I'm not able to see the direct income and expense for this other private property, which does not have CMBS on it. You can at least use the CMBS properties to help kind of benchmark and set expectations for where those other properties might lie. And then lastly, on the distress side, which of course is a very big topic these days with everything we've been seeing going on with kind of the economy and COVID and everything else. Really strong value that we have available on the CMBS is watch list information and watch list commentary from the master servicer and special servicers. With that, this kind of complements very well our current offering on pre-foreclosure and foreclosure information, in that it's occurring much more up funnel of that. So before there's really a document you know, registered with the county or with the land records division, starting the process of pre-foreclosure, the servicer is giving us that sort of commentary of, hey, this person is in COVID relief, or they're having issues paying property taxes or some of their mortgage payments. And that can really be able to, you know, extrapolate that out and look at, again, in a given market, perhaps you're seeing that across many of the larger office buildings or retail properties there. And that can give you an idea that perhaps, you know, while these properties themselves are having some distress, likely other properties that may not be as well capitalized or as defensible as these larger key properties might be even larger problems and might be a sign of things to come. So it might be a good idea to start reaching out to some of those owners. Now, how it can fit into your workflow, you know, the good news is it's, you know, if you're used to and, you know, have a workflow that's been working for you, it's going to fit in and kind of plug in very similarly with how you're used to this information. So kind of on the Discover side, you know, we've incorporated a lot of the CMBS information in with the existing filters that our users know and love, things such as maturity dates or lender, unit count, or different asset types. Additionally, we have two new filters, one around loan performance, really, you know, is this property on the watch list currently, or historically was it on the watch list as well? And then additionally, you know, is it a property that has a current CMBS mortgage or a historical CMBS mortgage, for kind of identifying those particular properties. On the research side, you're able to perform due diligence on the properties themselves with kind of the addition of the new financial information, which is something that we didn't have available for the majority of our properties before. We had, you know, a little bit of financial information on our New York City properties for those users who are familiar with our New York City offering, but on our national platform, very little financial information has historically been available. So with this, we now have the information for users to look into and see, you know, income and expense and, you know, kind of net cash flows and NOIs and DSCR to really see what that looks like and how these specific properties are performing. And then on the loans themselves, there is a whole slew of additional attributes, which we'll see here shortly in the demo, that provides much more additional color on the mortgages to get a better idea of how these are currently performing, as well as how they've historically performed. And then on the outreach side, it really is you know, still the same way that you know and love of going, finding those owners and contacts and being able to reach out to them directly through phone, direct mail, or email opportunities with the information that we're able to help you know, uncover and provide for you. Within the platform itself, for us, we have identified about 150,000 properties that have CMBS mortgages, either currently or historically associated with them. And, you know, across those 150,000 properties, it's about 300,000 total loans that we have. So, you know, of course, again, covering 52 million properties, this is a very small percent of the overall properties that we have on the platform. So, you know, it may be, it's unlikely, it's gonna be tough that if you're just clicking around on the map, that you're gonna run into some of these properties with the CMBS. So that's really where the power of all the filters that we provide for our users comes into scope, right? To really be able to narrow down that large list of many millions of properties down to the few dozen, few hundred that are going to be most actionable for you and are going to make the most sense for you to spend your time on efficiently and effectively to find those best opportunities and leads. Now, without further ado, if we kind of jump over here into the platform, give me a second. Okay. All right. I'm sure there's a can everyone see my screen now joke there somewhere, but you know, we'll kind of continue. So now we have kind of the platform here for Reonomy that we're all familiar with. Now, if we kind of go in and let's say we're looking for a you know, property that's on the watch list currently, so under the debt tab, we'll see here these are the two new filters that we have. One on the CMBS loan for kind of, you know, current or historical. So we'll just throw current on there. And then on the watch list for currently or previously on the watch list. So we'll go currently on the watch list. And we see that there's about, you know, 6,500 properties, slightly over that that are currently on the watch list across the US. Now let's continue to kind of filter this down a little bit and really narrow in on some properties that make the most sense for us. So, for this, we'll look at kind of maybe something that's about, about 5 million. And then we'll add in a location of Los Angeles. And lastly, we'll look into some multifamily properties. Apply those filters. So quickly, we got down here to about that 42 number, which is going to be a very manageable list for someone to go through. You could easily go through this one by one if you cared to, or similarly, you could either export these, go through them in Excel, create a report, kind of however that you're most familiar with kind of going through these. One thing I want to call attention to here is the ability to kind of filter and sort and really be able to sort your kind of results that you're getting. So here we'll sort this by last mortgage date, low to high. And then here are all these different results that kind of fall within our list. Now, if we were to look into one of these, we'll go to this one here, it's 88 unit multifamily property. So we can kind of look in, see what it looks like. We've got about 88 unit, low rise multifamily here in Sun Valley on the debt tab. So now a new field you'll be seeing here is when a property does have CMBS or a mortgage that is identified as CMBS, there will be this new kind of column letting you know, yes, that it does have it. And then you can click in and see all this additional information. Now, just to give reference, right, this is the amount of information we have on our current mortgage that we show. So really just this kind of loan term section. Now going back to here, this $7.25 million loan from C3 Capital. Now this loan info, which is a new section we have here, we have some additional information around kind of what does the active and kind of actual balance look like. So we see, while it was 7.25 when it was originated back in June 2014, right now, kind of 6 years in here out of the 10-year term, we're down to slightly over $6.5 million as kind of the active mortgage. We can see that this was the balance as of the end of May, and this will be kind of continuously updating over time and getting more and more recent as time continues to kind of go on. Additionally, we see here what was the underwritten appraisal value, so 13.3 million as of date, kind of what the LTV looks like, and then also prepayment penalties. Are there any sort of sliding scale prepayment penalties associated with it? Looks like for this one, this does not have a specific prepayment penalty specified. So this might be a good idea to start some of these conversations a little bit earlier with this owner, with this borrower. On the loan term side, so these are actually the fields and the values that we currently have available for all of our mortgages. Now, again, at differing levels of kind of coverage or fill rates here for example, we don't have interest rate for all of our mortgages, but for our CMBS mortgages, it's going to be a very high percent are going to actually have these interest rates associated with them. So for this one, we see it's 4.92 fixed rate, again, kind of that 10-year term. If it was a cross collateralized loan, here we'd see what are those additional parcels or properties that are crossed with it. You could then be able to go and look at and see all those properties quite easily there with a hyperlink. We have this ARM section, so this one is specifically a fixed loan, but if it was an adjustable rate, we would have kind of what does that spread look like, as well as what is the particular index that it is being benchmarked against, and that spread is being put over. And then down here, of course, is a portion I really want to call attention to, is the servicer commentary that's coming directly from either the master or the special servicer. So it looks like for this one, kind of 88 unit low rise, it looks like it was some deferred maintenance. Let's see, fire extinguisher, so relatively small. This one's probably not, the most in distress. So we'll look at one or two others here, but some good background to be able to get on potentially what's going on with the property currently, and what most recently has happened there. Now, if we skip over here into this new tab as well called Financials, we can then see here what do the financials look like for up to the past 2 fiscal years for this property. So this one, for this property, seems that the fiscal year coincides with the end of the calendar year. But the sort of things that we have is around occupancy rate. So you can see it's very, very well occupied, 199%. The high level revenue, operating expenses. Again, these operating expenses are kind of at a high level consolidated, but at least able to give you an idea of kind of the operating efficiencies of these properties, as well as be able to get down to then this is what the NOI looks like, net cash flow, and then debt service coverage ratio, or DSCR, which are, as we know, incredibly important for all of our lenders and debt brokers out there. Now, if we were to go back and we'll look at another property here, this one. All right, so we see Cantor. Again, these are properties that are on the watch list. So let's see, why is this one on the watch list? On the performance. So it looks like COVID relief requested, borrowers working with lender towards possible solution. So it looks like on about beginning of May, maybe late April, when they actually requested that COVID relief, it was that they were actually then put on the watch list and are now kind of working with the lender there. So super powerful information that can really help give really insight and help drive informed decisions on what's going on with these properties and with the loans themselves. Now I quickly just want to also show, do a slightly different search here as well. So instead of looking as much at the watch list information, let's look at something that maybe is coming due soon, and using some of those other filters that we're very familiar with. So if we can easily get rid of the watch list, we'll change mortgage amount from 5 million down to 1 million, and then we'll keep LA and multifamily. And almost forgot. And then we'll add maturity date here in the next 2 years. Thinking that CMBS, there is, since there's more information on it that's available throughout kind of the CRE world, and potentially there might be a little bit more competition for these particular mortgages and the refinances. So hey, let's look at something that's 2 years out instead of 1 year or 18 months, so we can start to have those conversations a little bit earlier. Okay, we apply that, and then we'll just go in here, look at this Kent Street. Okay, we can see originated by Arbor, maturing here, looks like 5-year mortgage maturing in right almost exactly about 2 years, so May 2022. And here's kind of again that sort of information. This one not on the watch list, has not historically been on the watch list, but we can see it go 3.76 interest rate, fixed in 5 years. And again, this one appears to not have a specific prepayment penalty associated with it, so it might be a good one to kind of again start some of those earlier conversations and really see where things can go and what opportunities are available for you. Okay, great. So I know that was just a high level overview of how some of this information can be applied and really how to find those properties quickly and efficiently. I know this is only in the LA market, but we're going to kind of jump back and take some of the questions that we have kind of coming in here. Slide. Yeah, and so we have a couple of questions coming in, but please feel free to throw in questions here into the Q&A box down at the bottom, and we'll get to them. And if anyone asks questions, we do not have time to get to them, someone from our team will follow up as well to get that information over to you and to make sure that everything is being answered and taken care of. So kind of the first question I'm seeing here is, how frequently does this data update? Which is it's a great question. So there's a little bit of 2 parts to that. So on our side, on Reonomy, we're updating our information on a weekly cadence, right? So each week we update and we get the freshest data that we have available. As it relates to CMBS information, we're getting that on almost on pretty much a weekly cadence, if not even a little bit more frequently. However, for a specific property, it updates once a month. So we receive an update from the servicer themselves once a month. So if you're looking at a specific property, again, that'll kind of update month to month. However, across the whole universe, it's updating on a much more faster cadence than that, on a weekly cadence, if not quicker. Okay, looking at a couple others here. Where do you get CMBS data from? So for the CMBS data, we're currently getting this from a provider that we're working with called Intex, who is one of the kind of standards in the space. From them, they're getting all the information directly from really those servicers and from the master and special servicers. So you can really say, I think it's coming mostly directly from the owners and borrowers themselves through the servicers, and then Intex is then providing it to us. Let's see, another question that we're getting here. Is Reonomy working towards more of an expansive list of mortgage data? The data I do see, i.e. maturity date, is very valuable, but is definitely scarce. For sure. So, I'll take that kind of in two parts. Yes, we are definitely working towards trying to create as expansive of a list of mortgage data as possible. And we definitely know things such as maturity date, interest rates are extremely valuable, and something that we want to increase coverage on. It can be a little bit more difficult on, the vast majority of the loans that we do cover are, private balance sheet loans. We get some of the information from title companies now, and we're kind of evaluating ways of how we can increase that coverage, and are definitely looking towards that. So it's something we're working towards. Do I expect that in the short term, in the next few months, are we going to greatly increase the coverage? I think that's unlikely, but it's something that we're definitely evaluating and want to get as high of coverage as possible for all of our users. Okay. Does the data update on a saved search? Great question. Yeah. So if a user has a saved search, yes, basically the saved search does update, and it will be running that search against really the latest data that's available when that search is ran. Now, that list may be, depending on how that search is created, that list may be more static or less static. Now, something that we would recommend is there's the ability to do kind of a lot of these relative search filters, things such as, hey, show me the maturity dates in the next year, versus doing something, show me, properties or loans with maturity dates from today until, August 5th, 2021. Now, that second search, while yes, the data on those properties and that data is updating, there's probably not many properties that are going to fall into that new search as time continues. If anything, probably properties will start to kind of fall out of it as they get new mortgages that kind of replace the ones that are in that list. However, if you use that, show me properties in the next year, every time you run that search, it's going to be showing you from today to that next year. So definitely recommend trying to use some of those relative search filters there. But yes, data does update for a saved search on those properties and the properties that would be valuable or would fall into that search itself. Okay, will CMBS data be included for all customers? So the answer for that is yes. So CMBS data is available for all of our customers on our national web application. It's something that we felt like was very valuable to our users, and it helped them to kind of increase some of these different data points, help with some of the data accuracy on some of the specific properties themselves, things such as asset type or unit count. So we really wanted to be able to make it available to all of our users to really be able to get the benefit of that new granularity of information to really be able to drive home and find those best properties that are available for them. Does the CMBS data include agency data? So say, you know, sometimes yes, sometimes it does not. Now we don't have, you know, all the CLOs, CDOs, and really all the agency data there. It's something that we're looking at and trying to work with some, you know, Fannie Mae and Freddie, and figuring out how we can kind of really make sure we're getting as much of that information in there as well. Really, you know, we'll see mainly the CMBS data that would be on there is kind of what, as we're receiving it from Intex. So it depends a little bit how they define it as well. So a little bit of a tough question to answer. I know it's not not the best answer either, but I would say in some cases yes, but typically, you know, if we do have agency loans, it'll be more of kind of what does the origination information look like, as opposed to kind of ongoing reporting and, you know, ongoing information to the level that we have on the CMBS information. And then let's see here. It looks like we've got one last one here right now. Are there customer privacy notice concerns when reaching out to borrowers' owners with some of this detailed data to have conversations? Again, I think it's, you know, another great question, and this is definitely you know, something that's definitely on the forefront of a lot of people's minds with the recent passage of CCPA, or California Consumer Privacy Act, that went into effect kind of January here. I mean, we have a lot of things, a lot of processes on our side for if there are owners who wish to basically have their information removed from our application or have that not be displayed. We work directly with them and make sure that those, you know, all those requests are honored, and make sure that information is not, you know, getting put out there if someone requests it. Now, I would say you have to use a little bit of your best judgment, right, when reaching out to owners directly. Now, I'd say typically a lot of the owners that are taking this the CMBS, you know, these securitized loans, kind of understand that a lot of the information is going to be kind of widely distributed, as it is, you know, something that has, you know, kind of financial reporting associated with it, and it's something that, you know, a lot of different places kind of offer and kind of give out that information. Now, while all the information that we display is, you know, considered public information and public phone numbers and emails, you know, we do recommend that, you know, users check against the do not call list before reaching out to some of the users, or some of the owners rather, and borrowers. That said, we have not heard, you know, very many people. I mentioned that we have kind of, you know, have worked with some owners, but it's a handful a year. You know, 5 to 10 people a year probably reach out to us and ask to be removed. So, you know, I would say you have to use a little bit of your best judgment, but, you know, we have not heard too many concerns from owners. Particularly, it's more people that, you know, are the people that are, you know, more protective of their privacy will kind of reach out. But in general, I think it's usually, you know, pretty fair game. But again, I think you have to kind of defer to your own best judgment. Okay, great. So it looks like that is most of the questions we have here. You know, feel free to, you know, throw in some more questions if you have anything else. And if we're not able to get to it today, it looks like we're kind of, you know, getting ready to wrap up here. We'll definitely have, you know, one of our teammates kind of reach out to you and give you, you know, the help and information that you're looking for. And now just kind of one last kind of wrap up slide here. So this webinar has been recorded and will be emailed and shared with all of you. Additionally, you know, something that we, you know, highly value here at Reonomy is kind of the voice of our user, and we really would love to hear from you all about, you know, what we can do to improve these webinars or make them more useful and more direct for all of you, and even kind of what topics would be best for us to, you know, cover in the future. So there'll be a short survey coming out as well, kind of about, you know, this webinar and webinars in general. So if you have the time, we'd really appreciate it if you're able to kind of help fill some of that out and give us some of that feedback. And then, of course, you know, any additional questions, you can always be reached at support@reonomy.com, or you can easily, when you're in the application itself, if you click on that little bubble in the bottom right, you can directly chat live with one of our wonderful client success people. So yeah, on behalf of Reonomy and myself, David, and Omar, I just want to thank you all for taking the time of joining us this afternoon. Thank you.